So the other day, I was just doing my normal rounds on the internet, scrolling. And I think it was on either Instagram or Medium. And I don't quite remember, was it Medium? I came across this thing called toxic positivity. And I'm like, what do you mean toxic positivity? Those are two words that do not go together. So, guys, apparently there's something such as toxic positivity. Hello there, and welcome to the Cocoa Butter Junkie podcast. I'm Michelle, and this is my podcast. This is a podcast on the everyday reflections and experiences of a Kenyan woman. It is my examination of life living through mental health issues, grief, growing up, aka kicking and screaming into adulthood, the experiences of being a woman in Kenya, making friends as an adult, struggles with faith, and a bunch of other topics. Thank you for listening. Before we begin the episode, here's a quick update. This week, I've been having quite a bit of a time with the state of my mental health. I've noticed something new that's happened several times this past week. I am finding myself quite unsettled and fidgety. I'll be sitting at the computer 1 minute, editing an episode of the podcast, and then I'll start to get uneasy, worried for some reason, and restless. And then I'll be like, maybe I need a break. So I will go out and sit in the sun for a bit, and then I start to feel a sense of guilt and that I should be doing something. Please note that I cannot in any way open up my business for now. And then I will go back into the house and try and read a book. I will read a chapter and then decide I'll continue reading the next day. So I then decide to watch TV, start to flip through the channels one by one, watch for a bit, and then go back to the computer to work. Please note that pre-COVID, I was not caught up in my work this much. It's exhausting. And then there are all these Zoom meetings and seminars. I feel myself getting to my webinar limit. And yet, I feel guilty about not attending yet another Google Meet on how to identify your customers' changing needs or another training on how to survive COVID. In the news this week, over 400 teachers sought mental health support, and these are just the ones who sought help. These are also public school teachers whose salaries are still being paid in full by the government. We're not even talking about private school teachers, those who didn't seek help, or Kenyans in other sectors. I know I said in a previous episode that I was doing okay, but this week, the uncertainty, the waiting, and the rising numbers of new infections is getting to me. Anyways, that's the update for this week. Let's get on with this week's episode. We're all familiar with the terms toxic masculinity or toxic feminism, but have you heard of the phrase toxic positivity? If you have, congratulations. I, however, am late to the party and only now discovering that by just focusing on the positive side of things could in itself be negative. Who knew? Toxic positivity is viewed as the culture of portraying yourself as being happy no matter what, being switched off to anything that might be viewed as negative, and feeling pressure to act like everything is okay no matter the situation. Hashtag positive vibes only. Hashtag no drama. Hashtag no negativity. Hashtag happiness is a choice. Hashtag good vibes only. I'm not one of those people who easily see the positive side of things. If you are, let's be friends. It usually takes a lot for me to dig out the positive side of things and then accept them for myself. And now I learned that there's such a thing as toxic positivity. I'm just one woman trying to get through everything that COVID has brought with it. So I'm taking all the positive vibes I can get. But then now, where do I draw the line? Am I just lying to myself? Am I ignoring and masking my true feelings? Is faith over fear toxic now? Does being positive now pay the bills? I'm just going to blame COVID and say that it has brought with it all these quotes and captions we've all been seeing, especially on Instagram these last few months. I follow a number of mental health / self-care accounts on social media. So my feed has been largely filled with all these posts of self-care. And while I understand that all of us are just trying to survive, get through this period, apparently I could be harming myself. But then again, this is social media, so I'm not quite sure what to expect with everybody curating their life. Obviously, no one is going to post pictures of themselves during a depressive phase. Which again begs the question, why do we do it? Even though we know that everything, toxic positivity included, is curated. So according to the psychology group, toxic positivity means that 1, you are hiding or masking your true feelings. 2, trying to get on with it by stuffing or diminishing an emotion. 3, feeling guilty for feeling what you're feeling, something I am clearly guilty of. Number 4, minimizing other people's experiences with feel-good quotes or statements. Number 5, trying to give someone perspective. For example, it could be worse, instead of validating their emotional experiences. This is something that has happened to me a million times. Initially, it would make me feel bad about myself, but now I just find it annoying. I hate it when somebody tries to point out the silver lining when I'm just trying to bare my soul. And I have done it to other people too, so I'm not that innocent. Number 6, shaming others for experiencing anything other than positivity. Cue eye roll. Number 7, brushing off things that are bothering you with an "it is what it is." Has any of these things happened to you, or are you guilty of any of them? Please let me know. Send me a voice note on Anchor. I will leave the link in the show notes. Examples of toxic positivity phrases include, "Don't think about it, just stay positive," or "Don't worry, be happy. Failure is not an option. Everything will work out in the end. Positive vibes only. If I can do it, so can you. Delete negativity. Look for the silver lining. Everything happens for a reason." And the most famous, "it could be worse." Some of these phrases make me feel invalidated, gaslit, isolated, shameful, and that my issues and emotions have been minimized or dismissed. If you've listened to episode 4, then you'll have heard me saying that phrases like "be strong" or "they're in a better place" to the bereaved, no matter how well-intentioned the thought, is completely unhelpful, at least in my experience, and is the best example of toxic positivity I can think about in the Kenyan context. And then there are, of course, those who are like, if you don't get out of this period with a new skill, your problem is not lack of time or opportunity, your problem is that you're lazy. Let me admit I fell for this initially. And then to counter it, I think I have gone overboard with the positivity. And let me just say, for anyone else who, like me, who has felt like they have to be doing something during this lockdown period, you don't have to. At least not all the time. COVID brings with it enough anxiety and loss. Sometimes just getting through one day is an achievement in itself. Allow yourself to have off days, especially if you're not for some reason actively working at this moment. Unfortunately for us, a significant chunk of life is hard. Fear, distress, loneliness, anxiety, and anger are all completely valid feelings to have during a time like this, just as are feelings of joy, gratitude, and hope. So this week, I'm going to work on acknowledging and validating my own feelings during this uncertain time, and letting those around me do the same, without pointing out the positive side of things, even if I feel like they may not be seeing it. I'm going to let myself struggle. I will definitely be unfollowing accounts that shame me for not always being positive. You can always get in touch with me via @Junkie or @This Kenyan Woman on Instagram. Instagram accounts I'm loving this week are @Africa COVID Exhibition, @Picture Images, @Melanin Journey, @Dope Black Art, and @Notes from Your Therapist. I will link them in the show notes below. Please share with me IG accounts that you like. The podcast is now available on YouTube. Just search for Kukubata Junkie. It's also available everywhere else you can listen to podcasts. I will include the links in the show notes. In the next episode, I will be having a guest on the podcast. Yay! So stay tuned in for that. In the meantime, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast to help other people find it, and you'll also be supporting me in the process. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next one.